and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. Today, we're breaking down Talladega, our favorite outrights, our favorite prop bets, some early names that we're targeting. We'll give you some ideas, and then obviously we will be back for the Sunday morning live stream. Brian Twining.
Maybe depending on what time. I have a golf scheduled event in the wee morning hours, so we'll see.
Fucking Tiger Woods over here. He's just like he's just picked up golf the other week, and he plays more than I do. We'll figure it out. Tweet it out. Share it up. If we do a live stream, it'll be on the YouTube setup. If we just do our normal show, we'll record that Saturday night. We'll figure that out. Probably TBD. But as I mentioned, we'll give you our early leans, our best bets, our favorite targets. Heading into Talladega, it's another Superspeedway race, Brian Twining. I'm very excited. Let's jump into it. Let's look at that odds board and see if we can't find some winners. But before we do that, actually, let's look at last week because
it was pretty bad.
My God, like that's just how. Okay, I am sitting there counting my winnings as Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe are racing each other for 1 and 2. I'm like, I got both these guys on the card. It's going to be a great week. I got some other stuff coming together. All of a sudden, they're crashing each other out. And here comes damn old Kyle Busch skating through and taking his first win in like some crazy number of races.
Yeah, the end of that race was absolutely absurd. I had for a second thought that Tyler Reddick had recovered enough to cross the finish line and win the race for you. But then, like you said, all of a sudden you see that 18 M&Ms come flying by in like a car and a half length to win the race. So I really didn't get to see the entire race, but from what I saw, I guess it was good, but all the rain and all that kind of stuff just kind of, muddied it up, for lack of a better word.
It had moments where it was interesting, and I think like I want to be excited about the dirt because I think it's a unique thing, but it also, when we're trying to get the cars to race and we want the best experience of these new cars, the dirt track kind of sucks a lot of the life out, and NASCAR's kind of making stuff up on the fly, and there's random stoppage, and I don't know. It had its moments for sure, but it definitely also had some points of frustration, and I'll be curious. I think they need to give it the old college try one more time. If we get another shit show like we've had the last 2 years, I think it's time to kick the dirt race to the curb. I like the unique ability, and obviously a lot of these guys grew up racing dirt, so it makes it fun. But at the end of the day, I want to see good racing. I want to see competitive racing. I want to see the faster car be able to pass the slower car, and that didn't really seem like it was the case.
It was interesting though that it got really good ratings on TV. So I mean, I guess from a fan perspective, television wise, it was good. But
yeah, it was Easter Sunday, so it's a thing you could put on in the background, and I don't know, but yeah, as you can see, it wasn't a great week for us. Those neither outrights hitting was really frustrating. Truex was an absolute dumpster fire. Denny Hamlin was an absolute dumpster fire. We'll look at DraftKings too, but my God, that was not a fun race from the betting point of view. I did hit Larson over Bell, which was my best bet, so that was nice. Truex over Logano, not so much. And I hit Austin Dillon over Kurt Busch. So, I mean,
by one spot.
Hey, that's all you need. Yep. That is all you need. You, on the other hand, Suarez over Harvick was it. Starts and ends there.
That's it. It was a bad weekend for NASCAR betting.
Yes. And my pocketbook is hurting. And over on DraftKings, it was pretty terrible too. I'm trying to find the correct lineup as we speak. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. So here's our DraftKings from last week. Just absolute dumpster fire. Hamlin just out early. Ross Chastain out about halfway through the race. Harvick out. Like when
Those little
you have
car
that many
emojis.
drivers out, even when you have Tyler Reddick, in your lineup, it's just between the guys just absolutely tanking, and the other guys just not being there. It was not fun.
No, I mean Todd Gilliland ran well. He didn't.
Yeah, he was
He
our
didn't get
best
quite to that
driver.
top 10 number, but he
Him
at
and
least
Reddick
finished.
I mean, we were on the right guys. Let me see what other lineups I put together. They're all absolutely tragic. So let's go to history. Let's look at where's my points, because that's what I like. Okay, this is more of the same. Kyle Larson was fine. He wasn't as good as he should have been for the price. If you just faded Truex and Hamlin, I think you would have been off to a really, really good start. Bubba Wallace was really frustrating. Almirola was really frustrating. It was just a bad week in general across the board. But the beautiful part about NASCAR, Brian, is we got another week to dive into.
Yep.
And we have some early looks at the betting board. Ryan Blaney is your favorite at 10-1. Obviously, we're going to Talladega, Superspeedway. The betting board is going to be more compact, but there's also going to be potential opportunities as we cruise along. So we got Logano 10-1, 12-1, depending on where you look. Chase Elliott right behind him. Brad Keselowski. I mean, I don't know how, I don't know who's betting this number, but I guess
shot.
hang that. It'll be interesting to see when we come back on Saturday or Sunday to see where it's sitting. Denny Hamlin 12-14. Bubba Wallace got his first win here last year. Austin Cindric, winner of the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch, last week's winner. And then way down here, Kyle Larson. You can get him at 17-1 at FanDuel. Any initial thoughts on kind of those first group of guys?
Honestly, before I had seen the odds, for me, I was gravitating towards Ryan Blaney. It's a little bit harder to get there with him being kind of the consensus favorite at most sports books. But I mean, he's a guy who pretty much every super speedway race this year, I've bet him on an outright, and I've bet him almost every single week on the season. I mean, he's continuously running inside the top 5 at almost every single track. He's won here twice before. So, I mean, we've seen him do it. He's been really good at super speedways. So, I mean, I like Blaney, but outside of that, like Bubba's number is a little bit too short for me. Denny just hasn't looked like the same. It hasn't looked like the same 11 car. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty coming into this race this weekend.
Yeah. The Keselowski, he qualified third. He finished 9th, but he had the second best driver rating at Daytona behind Austin Cindric. It might not be nothing, but where his number is and where he did at the other super speedway is interesting. He didn't perform as well at Atlanta. Obviously, it's not a true super speedway, but it has, with the new track setup, it's a lot more super speedway than it used to be. So I'm trying to factor that in a little bit, but
yeah, I was going to say, for me, like, I didn't even really look at the Atlanta results just because it's a shorter track.
Yeah.
And Talladega is so unique in that it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it is a very big track, 2.5 miles, I believe.
Yeah, they showed an image of Bristol inside Talladega, and it was like a fraction. It was like basically one corner. It was really funny.
Yeah, it's going to be different. But again, these guys are going to be pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to see the race just because I love super speedway racing, as there's just so many lead changes. I mean, some people think it's boring because there's really no driving involved, but it's just fun to see the way the cars utilize the draft, who likes to drop to the back, how people can navigate the field and such to get to the front. And I mean, we always anticipate the big one towards the back half of the race. So
100%. And I think this year even more, with that could come even a little earlier, as people realize if you don't get them early, you might not get them late. Yeah. So interesting names in this group. Bubba's really interesting, especially if they get that 15. Ran really well at Daytona and the Superspeedway. Obviously, that's kind of his jam. Kyle Busch also ran pretty well. Started 10th, went back as far as 20th, but then ended up finishing 5th. Had the fifth best driver rating at Daytona. I don't know that. I guess, going from no wins to back-to-back wins doesn't seem super likely, but also seems to balance out, for a guy that we expect to win more than he has thus far. Kyle Larson was your pole sitter, ended up finishing 32nd due to a wreck, but was 4th in the last 10%. So probably should have had a much better race than he did. Kyle Larson, 17-1. I think my betting card is going to start there just because I can't help myself.
Yeah, for me, I'm going right at that same number, but going one more longer, and that's William Byron sitting there at 18-1. He's been, one of the best drivers this season.
Yep.
Before the fall race at Talladega last year, he had 2 consecutive top 5 finishes and 3 consecutive 11th or better finishes at this track. Last year, he was one of the fastest cars on track during the spring race. And he's just driving so good that anytime you can get a number at this amount, even at a race that's, it's going to offer so much variance, that is a great value for me.
Yep, he's on the card as well. That's a good number on a driver that I really like. That, like you mentioned, has been performing really well, and is primed to go in the right direction. So I like that call quite a bit. Kevin Harvick was really frustrating a week ago, but I expect him to perform a little better. Almirola, I don't know if I'll get to that 20-1, but I could see myself looking at that top 3, top 5, top 10 market. We'll flip over and look at that here in a minute. That could be another interesting way to attack him.
Yeah, I was gonna say guys like Almirola make a lot of sense in the top 10 market if you can get a good enough number, or if you're willing, you go up to that top 5 spot, which is probably going to be pretty long, but it's going to be pretty good payout. And we've seen Almirola do it before at this track, and knowing that the kind of race that this is going to be, you're going to see some weird names probably near the top throughout the day.
Yeah. I think, another way to do it because his number is so short, it might be hard to get to that top 10 number. But you might be able to get like a nice matchup against a driver that you want to fade, and feel pretty good about that as well. So, pulling up the results from 2021 Talladega just to see. Kevin Harvick was the best last year at the October race. Best driver rating right behind him, Brad Keselowski, then Joey Logano, then Bubba Wallace. So kind of interesting. Obviously they didn't finish that race, but solid performance across the board. Now we're getting into names that I don't know. Like I guess let's look at, we talk about longer shots. Like last week I told you I wasn't taking Christopher Bell at that number. This number, however,
yes,
I think I could talk myself into that.
Yeah, I am a glutton for punishment. It continues this year, but that 28-1 number is too good. And then also with Chris Buescher, 28-1, he's kind of like, this is his wheelhouse. These super speedway races, I keep mentioning it, he was right up there inside the top 10 at Daytona until that Brad K bastard crashed him. So those are great numbers. And then Ross Chastain right there at 35-1. This is kind of where I feel like peppering the board in this area and below could.
It's almost like we shouldn't bet those longer, like bet Larson and bet Byron. We should just pepper the board in this range.
Honestly, at these kinds of races, you have as good a chance of hitting at these spots as you do as hitting those favorites. We saw Daytona with Cindric, and then Atlanta was kind of all over the place until Byron finally won it. But
yeah, no, I think it makes sense. There's some interesting names. Recce Spinouts, 35. I would be fine getting to there. Man, Truex really burned me. What about Austin Dillon? 35.
He hasn't performed very well at Talladega
Yeah.
the last few races I've seen. So, but again, you can't read too much into their finishing positions at these tracks because all it takes is them to get involved in an accident or something.
Right.
And this race is not predicated on how good of a driver you are. It's basically how you maneuver the field and if you can avoid, contact, which is probably as important as going as racing, I guess,
Yeah.
in this race to say.
So spinouts is toast. Then he's definitely going to end up in the wall at some point.
Yeah.
Daniel Suarez, Cole Custer, Eric Jones at 70.
Oh, that's already on my card. I'm not.
Love
I
it.
got
I love it. Eric Jones at
71. Why
70
not?
is going on.
Let's do like a quarter unit. Why the hell not?
Yeah. No, we're not definitely not emptying the bankroll on him, but
Yeah.
at 70, he's somebody that steps up when on these style of tracks, and I think he can do really well. So, and he'll be another guy that I'll look to target in head-to-heads, top tens, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Um,
And then Ty Dillon right there at 125 to 1.
love it.
He's going to go on there for like a tenth of a unit. He's ran really well at Talladega. I think his worst finish in 8 starts is like 17th or something. And he's finished every single race at Talladega in the Cup Series, which, like we've been talking about, is extremely important. Just getting to the end is kind of an award in itself. So, peppering him with that small wager on him on the outright, and then again placement bets on Dillon or matchups are going to find themselves on my card.
Yeah, man, Stenhouse was leading the race with about 10% to go and finished 28th.
There you go, exactly.
That's not great. And
all
then
it takes is a bad
Eric
pit
Jones
stop.
was going 10. Probably we were loving life with our top 10 bets, and he finished 29th. So those two guys, man, they maybe the one day that'll click, but man, it's really hard to get there. I don't know if you follow Corey LaJoy on Twitter, but he had this new shirt he launched today. It's pretty dope. I might have to pull trigger and get one.
Hey, he's a pretty nice guy too. I got to listen to him talk when I went to the race in Vegas, and he stopped and signed a ton of autographs. So
yeah,
I mean, kind of a fan of his now.
Seems like a good dude. Let's keep it going. We can go right here. We'll go to the top 5 market. Actually, should we do top 3 or just go straight to top 10? Because obviously DraftKings isn't gonna, or FanDuel rather. Let's start at the top 10 and work our way down. I don't know if anyone has access to Sugar House, but like
those are fantastic numbers.
These numbers seem wrong, so go bet them.
Yeah, if those are real.
Those are real numbers. I'm not going to bet them for the sake of the show, because those don't seem like real numbers. But if you see them and you have access to them, go nuts.
Yes.
I don't think we're going to be betting any of these like minus 200s, even on guys that we really like, just because they could crash and burn and you'd be not loving life. But I think there's some opportunities as we go down. Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell.
Christopher Bell at even money to top 10.
That's
a great value.
My God. I
even
enter the week
plus
trying to be like a little more patient, not fire so much, and then they give me plus money on Christopher Bell to top 10. Like, what do you want me to do, FanDuel? What do you want me to do? Stenhouse. We like him to win, potentially. He has struggles where if he doesn't really win or get in that top couple spots, he really goes back because he got an accident. So does a top 10 bet make sense for him?
Honestly, I would much rather just go with an outright with him and pray he wins the race.
I think that's the move, and I think the number, especially right here, indicates that. Like, plus 140. Michael McDowell, his car looked really good at the dirt race. He's obviously not a big dirt guy, but seems to be finding its form. Obviously won the Daytona 500 last year, so has a little bit of success at Superspeedways, plus 175 to top 10. I don't hate that.
Yeah, the Michael McDowell plus 175 is on the card. It looks like Eric Jones has actually been bet down as yesterday. I saw and added it to the card at plus 310, but for the sake of the show,
No, I mean, if you found it at 310, you get it at 310. I'll take it at
no,
280.
I'll take it for what we see it here because that's still tremendous value on a guy who has the potential to win this race, let alone crack the top 10. And these
Do
are
we
the
go
kind of
back?
top 10 bets that
Yeah.
I'll be making this week.
Do we go back to Chastain at top 10 for plus money?
I think it's kind of the same thing with like a Stenhouse at plus 140. I know that like Chastain has every chance to win this race, but then again, all of these guys have the shot to get in an accident 20 laps into the race. So I think that even at plus, it's a little bit harder to get to at a track that there is so much variance.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
Like I would much rather go with a Corey LaJoie top 10 at plus 430 for less money.
Yeah, because that's like his realistic, like the best chance he has is to go like 10.
Exactly.
No, I think that makes sense. Let's look at top 3 market to see if there's anything interesting there. We can look at top 5 too, just to see what FanDuel has, but I like to get a few different options just to see what we're working with. Blaney, kind of interesting at when you're talking about FanDuel numbers. I'm not betting at DraftKings; it's just too short.
Yeah, that's way too short.
Bubba plus 430. I don't hate that. I don't know that I see him winning again, but maybe competing, being right there. I think that could make some sense. Kyle Busch at plus 550. William Byron at plus 550.
I was just going to say, I would much rather go with Byron at plus 550 than even go with Bubba. I mean, when you just look at those two drivers, there is a vast difference in ability on the track. No offense to Bubba Wallace, but
no. And this is his best style, so obviously he can do really well here. He can even win like he did last year. But when you're betting top 3s, top 5s, top 10s, you're not betting on the ceiling. You're betting on the kind of the floor. And I think William Byron's floor is so much better, puts you in such a better spot to get that top 3. So I will add that to the card as well because I think it makes a lot of sense. Man, Kyle Larson at plus 550. Tyler Reddick at plus 650. Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe have also both looked really strong this year, kind of just in general. Like I've been really impressed with them. I remember last year watching Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon like race a lot, and they'd always kind of be in that like 8 to 10 range. And they both had a shot to make the playoff and were competitive, but not really. But this year they seem to have Reddick seems to have stepped his game up a little bit and taken it to the next level. So I think that's interesting. 11-1 on Stenhouse to top 3. Because like I could see him being in the lead and then like something happening where he starts to spin or something and he ends up like spinning back just far enough but still crossing the line to get that top 3 at 11-1.
I think you're giving him a little bit too much credit because I can already tell you how that story would end is he would be in the lead coming into turn 3 and then get wrecked by somebody who's trying to pass him and
Brad
finish outside the top
puts
20.
him on the wall.
Like
Truex, man, Truex bugs me. I wanted to be so.
Yeah, Truex, I can't, especially at a super speedway. I've never really seen him run near the top. Now that Michael McDowell number at 13-1 to top 3, he's a guy who does really well at super speedways. He doesn't necessarily run in that spot, but he's the kind of guy that could sneak in there if there is a crash.
Yeah,
coming
like
into those last
Keselowski knocks Stenhouse out of the way, and Eric Jones is there, and they're just pulling all the crowd, and then Michael McDowell just sneaks right through and ends up third. I could see that for sure. I think that makes sense. Let's see. Do we have any driver matchups this week that make sense? All right, let's see what we got here. We'll just some of them have each book has their own deal. So we'll see what they have. Oh, look, your two guys are going against each other this week. You love to see it.
Oh,
here
there we go.
There's
Ryan
your
Blaney
bet.
over Joey Logano. That's
It's pretty crazy. So that's a good bet. Bubba versus Hamlin.
oh man, that is
Bush versus Larson. Byron versus Bush. Blaney versus Elliott. Stenhouse, Truex. Maybe you just bet Truex and hope he finishes like 23rd while Stenhouse is spinning out and cash that ticket. McDowell.
oh, see, that's smart. That's a good matchup right there.
There you go. Michael McDowell minus 110. Put it on the card. Christopher Bell over Kurt Busch. That's tempting. Busher over Bush. You could just fade Kurt. You could just have an all fade Kurt Busch card.
Man, that's the ultimate Bush matchup.
Yep. How they haven't done a commercial with Kyle and Kurt Busch, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Bowman versus Almirola. Like, Bowman is kind of interesting. Like, he's kind of sneaky.
Well, I was gonna say for the mantra of him being a hack, I mean, he's been running pretty well over the last few races. So
yeah. Suarez versus Haley.
Is that the show bet right there? Ross Chastain versus Chris Buescher?
Sure. Done.
Give me Buescher.
Fine. I will take Ross Chastain all day long. Austin Cindric versus Bubba. Austin Cindric versus Chase Briscoe. Okay. I think we covered it. Let me look at the... Do they have the F1 odds up yet? Let's take a look.
The F1 run weekly?
Because they're going from like Australia to Japan to...
Who cares? They're
Germany.
all flying in their friggin' Gulfstreams, so it's not like they're sleepy.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that it's like a... Am I missing it? Let's see here. Head over to Odds Checker, see if they have it up yet. They should have it up. Yeah, Formula One. Just curious. Charles Leclerc, I think, at plus 120. If you want to parlay it with your favorite driver this week. Oh, okay.
I was gonna say Carlos Sainz. Those are pretty good odds for him, considering he was running really well in practice. I heard, and then he had like a car issue.
Yep, and the Ferrari has been really, really good this year.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on, Odds Checker?
Good job, Odds Checker.
I mean,
look at the odds quick.
We don't need to go super deep anyways. Let's see if the best number is plus 120 there. I don't hate taking signs.
Oh man, if you can get points bet or sugar.
Yeah, I think you can get better numbers.
Oh, that's for
that's to parlay them. You can't parlay two winners, dumbass. 8 to 1, 8.5 to 1. I think that's pretty solid right there. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think Checo is the guy this week. Yeah, and Mercedes just isn't there. Although, if you can find a Mercedes prop for Russell to beat Lewis, I think that might be interesting. But excited about that. Excited about Imola. Although I'm a little worried that it's a little too predictable with Italy and
what and what time is that race this weekend? Do we get another like late night Saturday?
It really hard to say. I don't know where my phone is. I will look up the Formula One website because my guess is no, because they're not in Australia. But let's see, it's 6 a.m. here, so
on Sunday.
Not ideal for the for us for what
Just
we
get
do.
that pot of coffee brewing at 5.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely get up, and obviously shouts to YouTube TV who records it, and I can just watch it if I get up at 6 and or 6:30 or 7. So I guess we don't need to leave this on anymore. Okay. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. Make sure you smash the thumbs up. Make sure you hit the like button. Let us know down in the comments your favorite driver for this week. Who are you betting on to win the race? Talladega, Superspeedway. Very excited. Brian and I will let you know when we're going to be back talking DraftKings, talking FanDuel, talking our betting card, all the good stuff. So that's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. You guys have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.